Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, let's throw another shrimp on the Barbie. Time for another episode of Oscars Playback.
No. Also, Australians don't call it Barbie.
Bobby, is that how you do it?
No, they just don't call it Barbie at all. I have not a lot, but several Australian friends, and this is a pet peeve of theirs because they don't actually call it that according to them.
Take it up with Paul Hogan. That's what I would say.
I mean, he delivered the banter that was written for him.
We're talking about the 1987 Oscars, Joyce, on Oscars Playback.
Yeah, a show that happened.
The 59th Annual Academy Awards. Paul Hogan hosting, sort of. Hosting?
He's a co-host. It's a co-host with Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn.
I guess I would say he was a co-host, but he really only came out at the beginning to do his bid.
Yeah, but they've done that with these multiple co-hosts before.
Yeah,
it's just they have segments.
True,
it's last week they brought out Robin later on,
Sure. He comes out and it was definitely, you could tell, people were really smitten with Crocodile Dundee, Joyce, an Oscar nominee this year.
Yeah, for his screenplay. So, and then he loses right away.
Immediately loses. Just couldn't lose fast enough.
And yeah, the three of them were fine.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I thought they were pretty good. Chevy was pretty good. Goldie, a lot of enthusiasm. Getting that Goldie Chevy magic together. Love seeing that.
Yeah, too much prolonged banter though, when he made her explain where she was and what she did when she won her Oscar because she wasn't at the ceremony.
I wrote this down. Paul Hogan says that, I wrote down this. Paul Hogan, terrible get off the stage. I thought the banter was really bad.
I thought he was fine. He was
but then he says it about how, I think he does a whole thing about how they have to do better, faster speeches, better get off the stage kind of thing. And then not 10 minutes later, Chevy is doing the same thing. I think it just is all this energy telling these people to
that's
faster.
the energy every year where it's just they want to make the show shorter, because it was again another edict from the powers that be, we need to keep this a tight 3 hours here, and it did not run just 3 hours. It went 3 hours and 25 minutes, so 14 minutes longer than the previous year.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's every year we hear this. It's you got to keep it short, guys. Just be gracious, grateful, and get off. And if you say you don't deserve the Oscar, then we'll bring someone else out here. We see this now too. It's they like to bully and shame the nominees.
Yes.
Into making short speeches when this is supposed to be the peak of their career. And
truthfully, the thing people want to see, good or bad, you want to see a speech, right? What else are you watching
let
for?
them have their moment. That's why it's so stupid to complain about the length of the Oscars. It's this is the one night of the year they have their moment, so just let them talk for however long they need to, and maybe just cut your other bullshit segments.
So we're talking about the movies of 86, the 1987 Oscars. Like you said, it was 14 minutes longer than the previous year. It took place on Monday, March 30th, 1987, which was the same day as the NCAA final, Joyce, between Indiana and Syracuse.
Which one did you watch?
Neither, probably.
Wow.
But this is Bobby Knight's, I guess, last NCAA title. I looked this up. Congratulations to Bobby Knight. 600,000 less people watched it than last year's Oscars.
That cross demo.
Too many
college basketball.
A lot of Hoosiers fans.
The Oscars.
Hoosiers fans a year when Hoosiers was nominated. I guess we had Hoosiers fever. Is that right? Or was that last year?
No, not really. It's just more a Dennis Hopper comeback fever. Sure. And Hoosiers is more broad appealing than Blue Velvet.
Yeah. Quickly, the winners: Platoon for Best Picture, Joyce. We'll go through this and do everything. Oliver Stone Best Director. Platoon had 8 nominations, 4 wins. A Room with a View, 8 nominations, 3 wins. Alien, 7 nominations, 2 wins. The Mission, 7 nominations, 1 win. Hannah and Her Sister, 7 nominations, 3 wins. Children of the Lesser God, 5 nominations, 1 win. Color of Money, 4 nominations, 1 win. Top Gun, 4 nominations, 1 win. and Star Trek 4, 4 nominations.
Yeah.
When I was going through this last week, for last year, the 86 Oscars, that was a tough Oscars in terms of winners, but I thought the show was great. And this year maybe flipped because I was like, these are great winners, great movies. I felt like the movies of 86, I was living my life. This is fantastic. One banger after the other. And the show, not very good. That was my big takeaway from this.
I think like the best picture nominees, like they're better than the previous year. But there are still like no like all-time like classics, like
Interesting.
masterpieces, right? Like I think like there are like really great films. Like I like Platoon and I like Hannah and her sisters. And I think A Room with a View is really good too, but you know, obviously no one talks about that. And like people probably think it's like stuffy Merchant Ivory, but I think it's a really good Merchant Ivory production.
It is. It definitely is.
And but like again, like I don't think like I think people need to be reminded of these films like today to talk about them and remember them, you know? Like I think they're really good films, but they're still kind of just like lost in memory almost.
I can't disagree with that, but I would say both Platoon and Hannah and her sisters are like fully masterpieces. I think they're awesome, and I've rewatched them both.
No,
Hannah
I
and her
think
sisters,
again, I think they're great films, but I
yeah,
don't think like in like
the
pop
culture,
culture they're
right,
thought of that way.
right. Maybe not, but I think they should be, because they're great. I was like, this is the best year we've done. Maybe is this the best year we've done? That was the thing I wrote down.
No.
Not even in the
I
80s.
don't think like any year is the best year we've done. You just like the movies that you like. That's the thing. Like you like because you like Top Gun, I know, and you just like all these other movies that came out this year. So you think it's the best year.
Joyce, do you have the box office? The top of the box. This is box office year is
I have the box
deranged.
office, yeah. Number one, your fave,
Top
obviously.
Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun. Number two, Crocodile Dundee. Number
It's
three,
great.
Platoon, which was a surprise hit.
Yes,
Number four, Karate Kid Part Two.
which
Number
was fine.
five, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, which I've never seen, obviously.
No stars.
Number six, Back to School, Rodney.
Fantastic.
Number seven, Aliens, classic.
Awesome.
Number eight, The Golden Child. Eddie Murphy. I've never seen this one.
You know what? It was big. I gotta say, I've only seen it maybe once. It's not one of the Eddie ones that I was super into. I don't even know why. And it feels like it was obviously a big hit. I remember like kids in school talking about it, but I never caught up with this one really. It was never on my must-watch Eddie list.
Yeah, I just never saw that one. So, and then number nine, Ruthless People. And number 10, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
A classic.
Yes.
I wrote down all these movies I loved this year, Joyce. I was saying to you, I think this is like is this the best year for my first great year? That was another thing I wrote down. Because the Mets won World Series in 86. Giants win the
That's the
Super
only
Bowl.
reason why you like 86.
Giants win the Super Bowl. And then you have all these great movies. I'm like, man, this is like living the dream here. Iron Eagle. You ever see Iron Eagle, Joyce?
I have, but not the other ones.
You don't need to see the other ones. Just the first one. Great. Down and Out in Beverly Hills. You ever see that one?
Yes.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyable. What else did I write down? Wildcats.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I feel like I have, but I can't say for sure.
So that's a Goldie Hawn comedy. The first time Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes are together. And
Robin Lively is in it.
Yes.
I feel like I've probably seen parts of it.
I feel like you have too, but it's definitely talking about movies that don't exist. This is not like something that the culture is even.
Yeah, this is like my relationship with a lot of 80s movies. I feel like I've seen most of them and just never again.
Sure. Here's one I've never seen, but I know about it because it was an early meme before memes. 9.5 Weeks.
Yeah.
I know it from Hot Shots spoofing it.
Sure. Is that why you watched it?
I've never seen 9.5 Weeks. But I've seen Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. I actually forget which Hot Shots it's in, but they do a spoof of it with the Ice Cube.
But you've seen scenes from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
of course. Pretty in Pink.
Another classic.
Molly Ringwald gets a shout out, gets to be at the Oscars, that they do a nice thing for her. Seems.
Yeah, what do they say?
I
Like she's
wrote it
all
down.
pretty and something. Like, yeah.
We'll do that when the red save that for the red carpet section, because they do a red carpet this year and it's good. The movie Salvador, one of two Oliver Stone movies, James Woods, Oscar nominee. Never seen this.
I've never seen it either, but this really piggybacked off of the unexpected success of Platoon, and James kind of like willed himself to a nomination here.
Yes. I found, I gotta look for this later. I'll pull this up later because it was this is Vincent Canby doing an Oscars preview talking about the best actor race. I'll just read this part. James Woods is not a serious possibility, not because his performance isn't good, but because the film has been a loser. So.
Yeah, it was a total bomb. And it really just capitalized on, it was riding the coattails of Platoon.
Yes.
Like that's it. That's it.
The movie Highlander, Joyce, which they still threaten to remake.
I've seen that one, yes. This one I do remember seeing.
How about Gung Ho?
Yes, I've seen that too.
Ron Howard, Michael Keaton, right?
Mm-hmm. Obviously.
The Money Pit, this was a fave for me when I was a kid. Tom Hanks and Shelley Long.
Yeah. And I remember when like NBC was gonna turn it into a show like 10 years ago, and it never happened, thankfully.
No.
Yeah.
It would be a funny show. You could do a reboot of this. It'd actually be ripe for a reboot.
But I don't know, like as a show or as a movie.
As a
like
movie.
I don't think it has like a long shelf life as a show.
It could be Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney doing Money Pit.
Yeah. Like that was my whole thing with the show. I was just like, so that I was glad it never went.
How about the movie Lucas? That was a Comedy Central fave.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was a breakout role for Winona Ryder, R.I.P. Corey Haim. Very traumatic experience for him.
Yeah.
Based on anecdotes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. I don't know, like I guess it's I think it's like an 80s kids classic because it's like, nice like teen coming of age film.
There's a lot of those this year, I feel like. This is just
there are a lot of those in the 80s.
Yeah. Short Circuit.
I love Short Circuit, and we saw that in school.
Fantastic movie. Completely fraught now, probably because of the Fisher Stevens portrayal of in that, though. I think there was a few years ago, Aziz Ansari like talked to him about it. Do you remember that article in the New York Times? It was pretty good. But the movie's fantastic. I haven't seen it since I was a youth, so I don't even know if it's still good. But I
haven't seen this since I was a kid.
I loved it as a kid. The robot was so cool.
We saw this on indoor day during recess when it's raining, so we see movies inside.
The robot was really cool. Want one of those robots. Top Gun we talked about. I feel like when Top Gun Maverick came out, Joyce, people were like, it's fantastic. It is. And then they were like, and Top Gun sucks. Top Gun also rules. Tony Scott fucking rips. This movie is great. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's so good. It's maybe not as good as Maverick, but it's not far off. It's so good.
I love Top Gun. I don't know, like I've never thought about comparing the two of them because they both like they're the same, but they're also different to me. And I don't know. I mean, I did rewatch it after I saw Maverick.
It's
good. So it's been 2 years.
So good.
You don't have to defend it. I'm agreeing with you.
No, I know
feel like
you're
very defensive about
not
Top
defensive
Gun.
to you. I'm not defensive to you. I know you agree. I'm just like, I remember people
like,
being
it's good. I'm like, yeah, I know it's good.
I know
I'm agreeing with you.
I know you agree. I'm just saying, like, in the people who were watching it, I'm just like, it's good. Like, it's really good.
I don't even think like most of the people think it's bad.
I think most people think it's good, but I think there's like a select few of like contrarian white Gen X, older millennial guys who think like it's bad because they feel like they need to say it's bad because they like Maverick more or something. I don't know.
But I don't even know if a lot of those people like Maverick.
I guess maybe not.
So I feel like you might just, if you're of that ilk, you might just not like both of them.
I
like
guess not.
the franchise.
So big year for Tom Cruise, obviously.
Yes.
Cobra, Sylvester Stallone movie.
I've never seen that.
You know the poster though, where he's got like the leather jacket and the glasses.
Yes.
This one I saw a lot as a kid. Again, haven't seen it. This was in the short circuit camp for me, and I wonder if you watched it at school or on recess day. Space Camp.
No, I did not see that in
Ugh.
school, but I've seen like parts of it. I've never
I,
seen the whole thing. This one I do remember seeing parts of it.
I don't think you nowadays I can't imagine it being good, but I think if you go back in time and watch it as a kid, I think you would have really liked it.
I don't know, like, because a lot of these I would just see when it was on TV, you
Right.
know, and then like, this is obviously pre DVR or anything, so there's like no way of like rewinding, to see the whole thing or like to get it on demand or anything. So you would just have to hope that it would replay it one day. And then you would have to check the listings to see if it would replay one day. So some of these movies I would see parts of and I would just like give up. I'm like, I'm never gonna see this whole thing.
Not wrong. How about Ferris Bueller?
This I watched a lot when I was younger, but I have not watched it in a while.
I probably haven't watched it in 20 years, but I've seen it like 50 times probably.
I mean,
Fantastic.
I did like True Detective this year, did make me want to watch it again, but I did not
Just a
revisit it.
fantastic movie with our favorite Royce, a son,
Eldest Son.
the eldest son, and Matthew Broderick fucking cooking. Just so good. I feel like
Um,
Ryan Reynolds probably watched Ferris Bueller 400,000 times
sure.
because it feels like his whole shtick is like Ferris
I mean,
Bueller.
Canadians, so
Yeah. Great film. Great Jennifer Grey. Great Charlie Sheen cameo. Good year for Charlie Sheen, too. Back to School. Rodney. You into Rodney at all?
um I mean, I thought it was fine.
The Triple Lindy. I still think of that when I go to the pool and I see like the diving boards.
Of course you do.
Haven't seen this one in a long time, but remember really liking it. Can't imagine it's aged very well. Legal Eagles.
I've never seen that.
There's a great joke in Meyerowitz stories of Legal Eagles. You remember that? They're watched Dustin Hoffman and Sandler
I've
watching.
also never seen that, so.
Oh, it's great. That's so good. It's so good. Oh my God. Great movie. Karate Kid 2, I feel like we mentioned recently because of the the glory of
This
love.
one, I've seen it, but I don't rewatch this one. I don't rewatch 2 or 3.
I don't even rewatch 1. Can't even tell
I
you
mean, I
last
haven't
time.
seen 1 or 4 in a while either, but the ones I watched a lot when I was a kid were 1 and 4.
Not
So,
not wrong. Labyrinth, I was never into this one, but I feel like people were.
um, you know, Jennifer Connelly, a lot of people's first crush.
Sure.
Yeah,
I could
David
see that.
Bowie. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I get it. I get that. Running Scared, Billy Crystal.
fine.
Never saw that at the time. Saw it like within the last decade. Good. Pretty good. Uh you mentioned Ruthless People, I think. Did you mention that one on the box office?
Yes,
Was that
because
up
that
there?
was like number 9.
So that's Danny DeVito and Bette Midler.
Yeah.
Uh good stuff, if I remember correctly. Not one I've seen a lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in decades. And I think this is Bill Pullman's first role.
Seems right.
I think that's correct.
Uh About Last Night, a Brat Pack film, right?
I've
Rob
seen it.
Lowe and Demi Moore.
Yeah.
They did a terrible remake of this, I feel like in the last decade.
Um this like I thought this one was okay. Um
I never watched it as much because it felt like a serious movie as a kid.
it was more like, yeah, it was like rom-com, but like it was just the two of them. So it wasn't like it was more of like a Brat Pack offshoot than
Right,
like full Brat Pack.
right. This one I watched a lot as a kid. Big Trouble in Little China.
You love that movie.
Oh my God, I love it so much, and it was relevant even this year with Cosmo on Shogun. Same kind of Jack Burton type character. Great Kurt Russell. I had a huge crush on Kim Cattrall in this movie. I always loved Kim Cattrall. Between this and Mannequin, which I assume we'll talk about maybe next. I forget when that came out, but that's another great movie. Great Kim Cattrall. I wrote down The Great Mouse Detective, and also later American Tail. Good
I
year
love
for
both of those.
good year for cartoon mechs.
Especially American Tail.
Same.
And we've talked about 50 Goes West,
Yes.
right? The sequel.
Yes.
But I loved American Tail. I saw that one in school.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I would thought of American Tail with Challengers because of Mike Feist. I think if they did a live action American
That he
Tail,
should be
he
Fievel.
could play Fievel. I think that would be something that could be good. Aliens, Joyce, which we mentioned as one of a classic movie. I feel like has aged even better. It's thought of more highly now than it was then.
Yeah, it's one of the rare sequels that's better than the Mothership.
I kind of think that's true. I wonder if people would push back on. I feel like now, don't you think the tide has turned back? Like people really love Alien, the Ridley Scott Alien, obviously.
I
Cameron
mean,
doing Aliens.
I don't know. I think the franchise is beloved in general, but I
Yeah.
think like pound for pound, Aliens is better than Alien.
Aliens is great because it's a completely. I love when sequels do this. I mean, I kind of did this like, spoiler. We're recording this a lot earlier than you're going to be watching it, but it reminded me a little of how Furiosa and Fury Road are completely different movies. Aliens and Alien are complete. Like it's a sequel to Alien, but it's like a war movie, but instead of like the same vibe. I like when movies. I like when the sequels are different vibes.
Sure. But in like Furiosa and
It's
Fury
a
Road
prequel.
space, one is a prequel.
I know, I understand, but it's the same idea. Like you could have done, it's a different vibe, right? Like I think that's the thing. Aliens is a different vibe. Haunted Honeymoon, you see a lot that one on cable a lot. Gene Wilder, that was on HBO a lot.
No, I did not watch that.
Not a great,
I've
not a
seen
great
it
one.
like on TV, but I never bothered watching it.
I wrote down this one. Never saw it, obviously, as a 7-year-old or 8-year-old, but Heartburn, Mike Nichols,
Oh, I love Heartburn.
great movie, right? I saw this much later in life. Feels like
Yeah, great film.
underrated.
Obviously, based on real
Yes,
life.
yes,
Nora Ephron. So,
yes.
great Meryl performance.
Really good. And
Mhm.
great Jack, right? I think he's great in it too.
Yeah.
Uh this one I could vividly remember getting it on VHS, and I've seen it many times, and it's awful, but I still hold a sweet spot in my heart for it. Howard the Duck.
I've seen that once, like ages ago.
It's definitely horrible. I haven't seen it in years, but I vividly remember watching it at home with the Gobstoppers. I would get the VHS and get a Gobstoppers. I don't even know if they make those anymore. Do you think they do?
Gobstoppers, they
Yeah,
exist.
they do. I'm not gonna get them. I'm not gonna go get Gobstoppers after this. One Crazy Summer, another fave. Savage Steve Holland does Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer back to back. Fantastic.
Um, I think I saw this one. This was John and John Cusack,
John
right?
Cusack, Demi Moore,
Because
Joe Murray,
they're like students, right?
and it's a summer at like what's a fancy place in Massachusetts? That kind of vibe. Cape Cod, I guess. Martha's
Martha's
Vineyard.
Vineyard.
Yeah, maybe that. It's like that kind of vibe. Love it. First Spike Lee movie, She's Gotta Have It, Joyce.
Yeah.
He's here. Welcome to the
Here.
party.
They turned us into a TV show a couple years ago.
You watch that one?
No.
Same. Good movie though. Love a new
Yep.
filmmaker. How about The Fly, David Cronenberg?
Well, we had a Fly reunion at the SAG Awards this year.
We did.
Yeah.
This one, we talked about this. I think that we talked about this either on this last week or maybe I just don't like the body horror grotesquerie. I'm not a big fan of. So this one was a turnoff for
So
me.
you were afraid.
Oh yeah, I
Very
can't even
afraid,
barely
just
even
like the
look at
tagline.
the stills of this. I can't even look at. Stand by Me.
I'm not a big Stand By Me person, and I think it's because I wasn't of like proper age when this came out. Like again, I think this is like a fave of a lot of young people who grew up with this movie. And
Yeah,
like I've seen it, and I liked it, but I'm not deeply attached to it.
I gotta say I'm not either. This is not one of the ones I was really into either.
So,
So if
but
you're a big Stand by Me fan, you know,
I
I'm
mean, I
sure
think
there's
it's good, but I'm just like, it's not definitely not one of my faves.
I'm sure there's a Stand by Me podcast you can watch. Blue Velvet, you mentioned. Definitely wasn't watching this as a youth. Uh,
Um, but yeah, we get the Soul nomination for David Lynch.
yes.
Hmm.
Feel like it would have gotten more. I haven't referenced a few other places. I think we would have gotten in. Crocodile Dundee, which was a true sensation.
Hmm.
We were really into Australia at the time. I feel like the culture. We just went in on Australia, like this fucking great place. It's like a new place.
A new place.
That's how it was treated. It felt like the music.
I mean, I think the, like this era, we also had obviously a lot of like British imports. So I think, and like every year they talk about how global the audience is, right? So
Yes,
I
100
feel
billion
like,
people.
yeah, but billions of people always watching the Oscars every year. Say hi to China. So I feel like they're in a way just kind of opening up more to like other, like embracing other films
Yes,
too. Even though in terms of the Oscars, like they're very conservative in their picks.
yes. Sounds a little different than now. Now I feel like they might still be conservative in their picks, but they're opening the tent a little.
Well, yeah, and that's more so because of how they've diversified the voting body,
Yes,
because it was not diverse.
it wasn't. British people aren't diverse, Joyce.
I mean, they didn't even like the British people winning, so
Color of
that was
Money.
a scandal.
Just back to Crocodile Dundee. I probably have seen this, and I definitely know that's a knife. That's my impression. That's not a knife. That's a knife. But I've not seen this in 30, 40 years, maybe 30 years.
I mean, I haven't seen this in a while either, so
Uh,
I don't rewatch movies that I'm not like totally in love with.
here's what I would love to know. Unanswerable question. Crocodile Dundee. No one would be in love with that, certainly, right? Like, first of all, who is you're I'm older than you, but I don't know anybody in my age who is like, man, Crocodile Dundee rips. And so it has zero rewatchability then, and is not something that you're just gonna find on TV. So if you're like 11 years old, how would you ever know this movie? Like, this movie just might as well not even exist because no one is ever gonna think about it again.
Yeah, I don't know. And like, and even if it were just like airing on like TBS right now and I, scroll past it, I'm like, I don't think I would stop to watch this.
No. And
So
what a young, I mean, that's the thing. It always blows my mind. I'm like, how do these move? Like, this movie basically would not, like, no one's going to be talking about this movie or even watch. Like, it's never going to have a reevaluation or be like, oh, it's great. Crocodile. It's just very strange.
I don't know. I mean, like there's so many films like I haven't thought about in decades, but like sometimes if I just see it, it's just like airing on TV on like HBO or something. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this in a while. Like
Right.
I'll watch the last like hour
True.
of this,
It's great to do that. We really missed,
So
not, the streaming really killed that. I love that way to watch TV.
yeah.
You still watch. You have TV. I don't have it.
Yeah, I have TV. You don't have
I
TV.
don't have TV. Color of Money, great Scorsese movie, which we'll talk about, obviously. I did not watch it as a youth. Jumpin' Jack Flash, Whoopi movie. I remember the poster. She's like this.
Great Whoopi
Great
movie.
poster. Peggy Sue Got Married, Coppola movie.
Kathleen Turner finally gets her nomination.
Yep. I wrote down these two, but I'm not going to say I've seen them or would ever have watched them as a child. But True Stories and Sid and Nancy.
I saw Sid and Nancy like way
Yeah.
later. So
And True Stories is David Byrne movie.
yeah, I've never seen that.
I remember the poster. Another great, a lot of memorable posters from this era. Don't really get that as much anymore. Something Wild, great Jonathan Demme movie.
Ray Liotta, great
Oh my
performance.
God,
Mhm.
fantastic. This is a great movie. This I'll mention a bunch here, and I feel like if it was now, it would get a lot more Oscar love, it feels like. Hoosiers,
Yeah.
classic,
Classic, and Dennis Hopper gets the nom for this for playing a drunk
hilarious.
after he cleaned up.
American Tail we talked about, just the best. What a
It's so
film.
cute. Like so like that is one that I haven't seen in forever that I would watch if I see it on TV right now.
I should watch that with Luna.
You know.
You can't believe we've never seen
So
that one.
it's a great film.
I saw that in the theater. I didn't another animated movie I saw in the theater. I saw it in Manhasset, actually. Transformers the movie,
Of course
which
you
I
did.
remember was notable because I think Optimus Prime or one of them says shit. I think it's Orson Welles. and it was like
And but did that
scandalized.
scar you?
I'm not scarred me, but I was like, look at that. The other ones I wrote down, two all-time faves. One actually that I've watched a lot recently, still watched, Little Shop of Horrors. Absolutely one of the greatest movie musicals ever made.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while either, but that was very fun.
And then Three Amigos, which I haven't seen since I was probably like 14, but I loved at the
Yeah,
time.
classic.
Do you think there's no way that holds up? Maybe it does.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen it.
Steve, Marty,
Wow.
Chevy.
Yeah.
It's like Only Murders, but with Chevy Chase, Selena Gomez replacing Chevy Chase. I think that's actually an upgrade. Certainly now it would be.
Um, did you see Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation?
I didn't. No.
Because I did.
I know you love the Care Bears.
I love the Care Bears.
They were good. What
Um,
else?
Nothing in Common. This was a dramatic role for Tom Hanks. I saw this like years later.
For some reason, recently I was looking at the Wikipedia page for this movie.
Why?
I have no idea, but Jackie Gleason is in it, right? He's the
Yeah. So, but this is like it's a Gary Marshall film. I've only seen it once, but I think this was also perceived to be like, oh, Tom Hanks can do drama.
right.
Manhunter.
Definitely a good movie. Brian, first time I was aware of Brian Cox, probably.
Yeah, he's our Hannibal Lecter here. And what else is there? At Close Range.
Yeah, what's that one?
Um, at Close Range, that is Sean Penn
Oh, yes.
and what's his name? Walken.
Yep.
So
Sure.
it's just like a crime drama.
Sure.
So I saw that years later too. And then I don't know what else is there.
So that's what I'm saying. Like this to me, this is a fantastic year. I guess I would say this. Like we've done this and like 99 is great and people talk about 84, right? Oh, it's so great. And I'm like 86 is maybe as good as these other years. It's got a great mix of I guess it's probably too pop because it's got like Top Gun and shit, but I'm like there's a lot of really good like I mean like Blue Velvet, She's Got to Have It. Like there's some like really real filmmakers here. It just is like, oh, the
Real
Scorsese.
filmmakers.
Well, because if you think about like in like usually like especially in this era, it's like what are the great filmmakers of this era making? So Scorsese made like his one of his maybe most mainstream movies up until then was this. I'd imagine this had to be one of his biggest hits, certainly at that point. Coppola doing Peggy Sue Got Married, which is just like right down the middle, like adult drama for the time. I don't know. I'm like, there's like, they're not like, you're not gonna, no one's gonna be like, oh, Coppola and Scorsese. Those are great Coppola and Scorsese movies, but I'm like, they're pretty solid, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's also similar to what I was saying before about like Platoon and like Hannah and her sisters. Like they're great films, but I think people need to be reminded of them first,
Right.
right? Like you don't really talk about Peggy Sue Got Married or The Color of Money,
No,
you know?
I'm talking about it.
So
Hey, a Color of
it's
Money,
like
at least.
you need like a reason to talk about it. It's like
Yeah.
so it's like they exist and I don't know. I mean, it's also like I don't like the thing is like we grew up so differently because like I would see these movies on TV, right? Like we were just talking about. It's like some of these are on streaming, but they also get buried in a library of content. So
Right.
people like have to actually find it. Whereas like you can just stumble across these movies like we did on
Yeah.
TV
Was
and
much
watch them.
better.
Yeah. And like my family, like we never rented. Like we never had a Blockbuster membership. So we never rented anything. So I always just saw things on TV.
We definitely did Blockbuster, but at this time we were doing a local. This is crazy in Port Washington, Joyce. So the Blockbuster used to be down in the Soundview, right? Like where now it's not anymore. I think I forget what's even there. Uh, but there used to be a video store on Main Street. If you go up Main Street, like it was like a mom and pop video store in like one of the little shopping centers. That's all I remember going to.
Um, yeah, like I would either just like buy, not me, obviously, like my parents would just buy the movie like
Sure.
on VHS. or
Right.
we just watched on TV. Like we never rented.
Right.
It was just we either owned it or we didn't. And then, but then, like my dad, especially, he would just tape movies on VHS. So
Right.
then you have a post-it over the VCR, like, do not touch this from like 3 to 5.
So we'll go to the Oscars then, I guess. What was the vibe? What was the sense you got going into? I got a Vincent Canby story here, like I was saying, about his predictions. It sounds like, uh, what would you say the vibe was going into the show?
You mean like in terms of the winners or just like the ceremony? Because the
This,
ceremony was just like keep it under 3.
the ceremony keeping the in terms of like the year in film and the winners. Like it seemed like
The year in film, well, Platoon was like the big surprise
right.
hit, because it opened December 19th. So this is another one of those like passion projects, like we had with Gandhi. Because Oliver Stone is a Vietnam War veteran, so he wrote this obviously, and no major studio wanted to buy the film or make the film, so he got Orion to back it. And it came out December 19th, and Hannah and her sisters had come out like 10 months earlier, and that was like the critical hit. And like all the critics awards, I think New York and LA went to Hannah, and MBR and National Society were split between Blue Velvet and A Room with a View.
Right.
So there was nothing for Platoon yet until the Globes. We saw this last year with Out of Africa. So Platoon won that. And Oliver Stone won director. So, and then I have an article here from the Times on February 9th, 1987. So this is 2 days before nominations. And the headline is Unwanted Platoon Finds Success as US Examines the Vietnam War. Platoon, a movie that no studio wanted to make, is the top grossing movie in the country this month. Over the weekend, it's sold 8.3 million worth of tickets in fewer than 600 theaters for an average of 14,000 per theater. Had Platoon opened a decade ago when the script was completed, it would almost certainly have failed at box office. Its success shows that America's relationship to Vietnam War has changed drastically during the last few years. His script, blah blah blah. So, it was turned down as uncommercial by every major Hollywood studio. He was finally able to get Hemdale, a British company, to produce it for the low price of $6 million. Orion, which is distributing the film, put up about a third of the money. Quote, it's a smash hit because it's touching a nerve, said the chairman of Walt Disney Pictures, Jeffrey Katzenberg. People are ready for it, said the president of distribution at 20th Century Fox, Tom Sherrick. And then, okay, so Academy Award nominations not be announced till Wednesday, but a number of Hollywood executives are already betting that Platoon will win the award for Best Picture. Yet any number of good movies, including Stanley Kubrick's classic anti-war film Paths of Glory, have failed at the box office. The delay of a decade has given Platoon the benefit of impeccable timing. And then, quote, if Platoon had been released 10 years ago, people would have said, don't remind us of our mistake, said the president of marketing and distribution of Lorimor, Ashley Boone. The same thing would have happened if Gandhi had been made 7 or 8 years after Gandhi died. No one would have watched the movie or cared. A lot of things with a historical background are too painful to address when they're fresh.
Interesting.
So it was like a timing thing, and then it became a box office hit.
Here's Vincent Canby in his preview for the Times. The Academy members having already done their duty on behalf of good, clean, upbeat entertainment by nominating children lesser God will not vote for it. The mission represents the kind of intellectually worthy, expensive, elaborate costume drama that Hollywood likes to favor, but it hasn't been wildly successful at the box office. Until Platoon opened in December, the front rows are Hannah and her sisters in A Room with a View. However, now it will be a race between Platoon and Hannah. My preference would be Hannah. The winner will be Platoon. So, you know, it seemed like pretty clear going in.
Yeah, I think it had like all the momentum, and I do wonder if Hannah had come out around the same time, like what would have happened.
I think they're both great. I think Hannah and her sisters is better than Platoon.
It just felt like I think it came out too early, and it was like old news by the time Platoon hit.
I'd say it's I think it might be Woody Allen's best movie.
I mean, it's definitely up there with Annie Hall. I mean, I think Manhattan's fine. I'm not a huge Manhattan stan.
I'm not either. I wasn't even a huge Manhattan stan when it wasn't fraud. As fraud. But I think Hannah and Her Sisters is like fucking great. It's so good. It's this run like we've done Broadway Danny Rose. Every one of these has gotten everyone like Purple Rose of Cairo is better than Broadway Danny Rose, and Hannah and Her Sisters is better than Purple Rose of Cairo, I would say. So it feels like he's on. This is an ascendant time. Maybe this is a peak for him in this late '80s, mid '80s run. But we open up with the red carpet choice. I guess we'll start there, and then we'll go into the things. I wrote down 3 things. I want to see if you flag the same ones. I mentioned this earlier. Popular and busy Molly Ringwald, who's pretty in anything.
Yeah. I also want to say the audio for this segment is very poor.
A lot of bad audio.
Yeah.
You're watching on the YouTube playlist. Didn't write anything down, just Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson together. I think this is their first red carpet, maybe, because they were in Volunteers the year before. Is that right?
I don't know if this is their first red carpet.
Or first Oscars, I guess. That's why I was like, I felt like we hadn't seen them together like this. Good to see. And then this one I wrote down, which I'm sure I'm going to bet you flagged. I'm going to talk about this one. Former Best Actress winner for Preetzi's Honor, Angelica Houston.
You know, maybe fact check that.
Just wouldn't be that hard. It was literally last year. Couldn't have been that long ago.
I mean, we've seen them make many of these mistakes.
Yikes.
So give someone a nomination they don't have.
It lives in infamy on YouTube. No one's watching it but us, but it's there. I didn't write anything else down. Those are the only 3 from the red carpet.
I also love that, you know, when they just say like the person and they need like a descriptor for their outfit. I'm like, you don't need to say anything about what they're wearing. So it was like Shirley MacLaine, who will present the writing awards in a stunning beaded dress.
Love it.
And like, you could just say it's that Shirley MacLaine is presenting the writing awards.
Period.
Yeah.
Then there's this, I wrote, Guys and Dolls opening, WTF, LOL.
It's with Telly Savalas, Pat Morita, and Dom DeLuise, the only people who would say yes to this, because that was like a whole thing at Inside Oscars. Like they couldn't get people to do this.
Hard to believe they couldn't get people.
So this was produced by Samuel Goldwyn Jr.
Yes. And they do
not great, Bob.
No, it's awful. Is it as bad? Is it one of the worst openings they've ever done? Top 3?
I mean, it's pretty up there. I don't know if it's bad as Snow White, but
it's rough. Holy shit.
I think it's really hard to do song and dance numbers with actors who are not showmen.
And then it ends with like a interpretive dance where they're singing, and it's Children of a Lesser God. Children of a Lesser God.
Yeah, they're going through the nominees.
Hannah and Her Sisters. Hannah and Her Sisters. The Mission. The Mission. The Mission. Platoon. Platoon. A Room with a View. A Room with a View.
You know what? This is how they were going to keep it under 3 hours.
This is like when this reminded me trying to squeeze movies like The Mission and Platoon and Children of Lesser God into this upbeat song and dance shit. It reminds me of the Jimmy Kimmel promo for Barbie that they did, or the Oscars that was through Barbie Land, and it's like they had to like just like the zone of interest and then just like move on immediately.
Well, yeah, he just went through the map. He just went through the zone of interest.
Like it just doesn't work because these movies you can't do fun bits with some of these movies.
You just didn't need to do a bit at all.
Oh God, it was bad. And then Paul Hogan comes out and he looks absolutely miserable. I thought. I just didn't think he looked very happy to be there.
I thought he was fine, and he, you know, delivered the lines well, and then he disappears for a good while, loses. But yeah, the first awards were writing.
Yeah, Shirley MacLaine comes out of his spaceship.
Yeah.
To the
so you know, more jokes about like her mystic background,
her past lives,
and this year they had a lot of. I mean, we've had several of these before, but just a lot of just presenter chatter, even when they're by themselves. Like Dustin Hoffman when he does Best Picture. Oh my God.
So the other thing that's so funny, I was fast forwarding through that. I'm not even kidding. I was just like, how is this so long?
It's so long, and he
It felt
speaks
like
for
he was.
like 3 minutes,
It felt like he was filling time when they were running
but
over.
they were running over and they were coming off of like Betty Davis presenting Best Actor,
Nightmare,
iconically, and
nightmare.
accepting on behalf of Paul Newman. And he he just goes on the spiel about how like each of these he quotes Jimmy Connors, first of all, and
I
then
figured
he
he'd
says
like
like
that.
each of course I like that, but I'm like, this is completely irrelevant. And he says like each of these movies gave 115%, which is Jimmy's quote. And I don't even know what else he said, but he went on for like another 3 minutes before he finally gets to the nominees and Platoon wins.
This is a show with multiple winners aren't there. That's the other thing. Multiple major winners
I
do
mean, it
not
used to
show
be
up,
like that. It was like that in the
and it's
70s
still
too.
14 minutes too long.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it,
they also had a fashion show.
yes, uh, yeah, I didn't write down. So then they go right into the thing. So I guess we could go. You want to just go into Best Picture? We're kind of talking about this, and then keep throwing. I wrote down other stuff about the ceremony, obviously, but there's really not much. Chevy Chase does a little bit of a monologue. It's fine. Shirley comes out, like you said, in a spaceship to give Woody
It's
Allen.
fine. Yeah. And then Platoon wins.
So
So
Platoon
as
wins.
expected. So
I think that's a great win. I think it's a really good movie. And when we're going to do our rankings at the end of this for the 80s, I'll have it very high up on the top, near the top of my list. I just think it's great.
yeah, I think it's a good film. And then like of these, I think it makes sense that it also won. I think the only one that could have beaten it was Hannah and Her Sisters.
Yeah. The other nominees are Children of Lesser God, The Mission, and A Room with a View. A Room with a View. And that's a pretty good list. The Mission was always a fine movie. I never like loved it, but I've seen it.
Yeah. It's like the highbrow
Yeah.
nom here more so than A Room with a View.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think, Platoon is also, I guess, like groundbreaking in a way in its realism. And I feel like a lot of films you can see like they were definitely inspired by Platoon, like war films.
Yeah, the thing I really like, I guess the thing I rewatched it last year, I guess, because like we were talking about this, I think I mentioned that Ringer podcast they did about the Vietnam War. I forget what other Vietnam movies we've done this year or this decade. But like it's just very much like it's a miserable movie because it just is like, wow, these guys, there's no hero. Like Charlie Sheen is not a hero in it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the heroic, like we're just gonna go in there and kill people, like kind of gung ho Rambo shit. It is actually like this is miserable and like it's fully from the American perspective, obviously, but the American perspective it shows is like you guys were hung out to dry and like kind of just like this is bad. It's just a very big war is hell type movie.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah, I
so
think it's like it can be a little like heavy-handed in its themes, but I think it's fine. Like it's like, I mean, obviously you have like the good angel and like the bad
right,
angel with Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe, and
right.
but I think it's really well made and well done. And it is like one of the better war movies we've had, and we have a lot of war movies.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I think it makes sense with like everything, of like the timing of the film, that like the people were finally ready to talk about the Vietnam War and
Yes.
reckon with it.
Yes.
So it's a good thing that no one wanted to touch his script 10 years before.
Right. Uh what other movies do you have for Best Picture? I had slight difficulties here.
Um, I mean, I have Top Gun, but I don't think that would happen. I think like in terms of like realistic possibilities, none of these would happen.
I did not have Top Gun, so I'm glad you do.
Because it's like Top Gun, like Aliens.
I I did have Aliens. I felt like it had 7 nominations, and I feel like in an expanded run here it would get in. Like if it was 10. I don't know. I think it would get in.
I don't know, but I think it's it could also just be too like popcorny, like the
Right.
two of them. So I had Crimes of the Heart, which was like totally mid
Mm-hmm.
movie. Um, I have Peggy Sue Got Married. I have Blue Velvet, but I also don't think like because it just had the one nomination for David, and it's like it has like no other support. But
I have Blue Velvet too. I thought that maybe it would get in. I don't know.
no, I mean it would get in now with other nominations, but like back then, just as a
Yeah.
lone nominee, it's like we know why he got in into director. You know, they do this stuff all the time.
I also had Crocodile Dundee.
I don't think they would.
I kind of think they would. I think it could have gotten in. Made so much money and got the screenplay nomination. I don't know. Like, what if it gets
But the screenplay nomination is just again like consolation prize.
Yeah, but I think in an expanded field it might. Also, I wrote down Mona Lisa.
Um,
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I wrote down Stand By Me too, but I think of Stand By Me in the same way as Crocodile Dundee. It's like that also got a screenplay
Right. I wrote
nomination,
down
you
Stand
know?
By Me too, but I don't know. And Platoon wins. And like we said, I think it's a good winner. I can't be mad that Hannah and her sisters, Annie Hall, I almost called. Can't get mad that Hannah and her sisters did not win, but I do think it's like fantastic. I think these are two great choices. So whatever would have won, I think is fine. And whatever lost is also fine, basically. I can't get that worked up about it, I guess. It's not like this is losing to Out of Africa.
Um, yeah, I but like again, I do wonder what the race would have been like had they come out at the same time.
I don't know.
So yeah, because Hannah came out February 7th.
Yes. Pretty crazy.
So it's like it's a whole newborn older than Platoon. So you could have had a baby in the time between the releases.
So crazy. Uh, and then Stone wins Best Director, like we said. One of two Best Director wins for him. David Lynch, Woody Allen, Roland Joffe, and James Ivory, the other nominees.
Yeah, Ron Haynes is the miss here for Children of a Lesser God. So
Children
obviously,
of a Lesser God.
like there were, you know, just like they hate women.
Clearly.
Yeah. So
I put down as an alternate, obviously, because it missed. I also wrote down Rob Reiner.
yeah, he's interesting because they just never touch him, you know?
I believe he was a DGA nominee this year, right? For this.
Yeah.
Feels like
But it's like he's had so many hits, right? That they've nominated in other categories,
yeah.
but they just never touch him.
I also got James Cameron for Aliens.
Yeah.
Would never happen. It'd be the
No.
Denis Villeneuve Dune Part 1 nomination. Snub.
Yeah, there's not a lot of um depth here in terms of realistic
There's not a
alternates.
lot of depth in terms of realistic, but I wrote down. I mean, there's a second Oliver Stone movie, obviously Salvador, like we said. Spike Lee, Jonathan Demme, Michael Mann, Martin Scorsese, Tony Scott, and David Cronenberg. I'm like, that rules.
Yeah, but not realistic.
And James Cameron. What a year. Also, Neil Jordan for Mona Lisa, I thought. Going down the Mona Lisa path.
So British of you.
You know, trying. Nothing else. So Oliver Stone wins. Great. Oliver Stone is we're talking about like none of these movies have any footprint. Oliver Stone doesn't really have a cultural footprint anymore either. But one of the most important directors of this era, basically.
Oh yeah, like this run of his the late 80s, early 90s.
Unparalleled.
Yeah, and you know, he like many of his contemporaries still out there trying
Yeah.
to various
Not
degrees.
getting he's still out there trying, but not getting like the Marty George Miller budgets.
No, and also doesn't have the same kind of like love and adoration either from film Twitter,
No.
you know?
A great run here. Elizabeth Taylor gave out Best Director.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Mhm.
This is again an era when you could have a famous person who you haven't seen a lot come out and do it. Now it'd be like Meryl Streep
And we've seen her.
all the time. on TV. You can watch her on TV right now. She's a TV star. It's pretty screwed up. Any other people for best director that you wrote down?
No.
Not really a lot. So I guess we could go into best actor choice. The nominees were Paul Newman, Dexter Gordon for Round Midnight, Bob Hoskins for Mona Lisa, William Hurt for Children of a Lesser God, and James Woods for Salvador. And Paul Newman wins for The Color of Money, and he's not there to accept. But he had just gotten the honorary Oscar, so I guess it's good.
Yeah, and he had said in that speech, I hope my best work is ahead of me.
And it was. Or at least his Oscar.
Would you say this is his best work? Because no,
No.
I would not.
I don't think it is either.
It is adequate work. I think it's solid work. I don't think it's not like it's clearly like a consolation prize, like a makeup win, because we didn't give it to you earlier when we should have. But I don't think it's bad like A Scent of a Woman. So
it's definitely not bad like Scent of a Woman, which I don't even think is a good movie and like kind of a parody of Pacino. I do think it's a good movie, Color of Money, and I think he's very good in it. But it feels like no better than like The Verdict or any of these other movies he could have won for, basically.
Yeah. And then it was just like, the narrative was just happening from the get-go because, it's a sequel to The Hustler and everything. So the movie came out. This is in Inside Oscar. And so it says like his reviews were great, obviously, but his publicist, Warren Cowan, swore, quote, if I were to suggest to Paul some kind of Oscar campaign, he'd hang up on me. In spite of Newman's misgivings, Disney publicist Christine Lamonte told the Los Angeles Times, quote, friends were saying that this would be Paul Newman's film for an Oscar before it had even seen the movie. I think this has a lot to do with the fact that we really want him to win an Oscar, don't we? So this was happening.
It's like his Judy. It's like Renee Zellweger and Judy. Just like saying
like she already had
already
an
won.
Oscar.
Well, yeah.
Like he had never won.
Yeah.
Anything. So then, Bob Hoskins was the critics' fave. He dominated. He won basically everything, but the Oscar.
Yes.
I think he also lost MBR to Paul, but he swapped everything else. So then, like after like the critics' prizes. Says Disney worried whether Academy members would remember Paul Newman since the majority of critics organizations hadn't. Mona Lisa's Bob Hoskins cleaned up in the best actor races. The one critics prize Newman to claim was MBR. Accepting at a party at the Whitney Museum, the perennial Oscar bridesmaid told Entertainment Tonight, quote, when you look down the pike and see that your work is finite, these awards mean more than when you were a kid. Taking no chances of a split vote, Disney demoted Newman's co-star Tom Cruise to supporting actor in its Oscar trade paper ads.
Fantastic.
And then like the other nominees also knew that they were gonna lose. Like there's a quote in here from James Wood saying like the rest of them they just went to the bar to like toast because they knew they were gonna lose to Paul Newman.
William Hurt we'll talk about when we do Marley Matlin because he's big fucking dick energy at this night. But in the Vincent Canby thing, Mr. Hurt having won an Oscar last year for his far more complex work in Kiss of the Spider-Woman is not a serious possibility this year, nor is Mr. Woods because the movie's a loser, and he rightly says Newman will win. So Vincent Canby on it. Yeah, I don't think it's like I think, let me ask you this. In another year with a stronger lineup, does he win? If he's up against William Hurt for Kiss of the Spider-Woman, he doesn't win, I don't think.
No, I don't think he would beat him or like F. Murray Abraham or like even like Ben Kingsley. I think this was like, a good lineup for him to prevail.
Yeah, it's a good, like we said, it's a very good performance in a good movie.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he won an Oscar competitively, but I think in another year he would not have won for this.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of helped that the memory of him accepting the honorary was the year before was fresh in their memory. So it's like, oh, like we haven't given it to him yet. Yeah. So like he had 6 nominations for acting and 1 for Best Picture and lost all of them. And he didn't go because that was like a whole thing too, because they were like waiting for him to confirm his attendance. And then he was just like, I've lost the 7 times I've gone. So like, I'm not going to go this time. We'll see.
Anyone. And so you mentioned the Betty Davis thing. I had actually never seen this before.
It's iconic.
Boy. This is whew, she comes out. The edited version is on the Oscars official page, but the real version you can find on YouTube. She comes out and is like, I cannot get. They cut her mic off as she's doing the intro because it just is like not
Well, for
working.
context, she had a series of strokes
Yes,
in
yes,
83. So this was like one of her first public appearances, or at least like major public
yes, yes,
appearances since then. And she had also been diagnosed with cancer in 83.
yes.
So obviously it was like a huge deal. So you would understand, and also at her age, she was like 78. Like you would understand she would have trouble with her speech. And basically they were playing clips of the nominees and she's supposed to read their names in the film. And she says Bob Hoskins twice. And then they just cut her mic and to just play the clips of the other four, and no one is reading the names. So it's like totally awkward. And then she reads the winner, Paul Newman, and he's not there. And then Robert Wise, the president, comes out to accept on his behalf. And Betty, like I love this move from her. She just interrupts them and she's like, happy for Paul, but I want to like give you kudos too.
Well, I get the sense that in the card it says Robert Wise will accept on his behalf and has like a little ticker of like notable things about Robert Wise that she was supposed to maybe read when she has the winner is Paul Newman, who's not here. Robert Wise, winner for two-time Oscar winner for whatever, is going to accept. So he's in the middle of doing it, and she missed that, and then is like interrupting to like give him that intro.
So this was so okay. So obviously after this, it was like, everyone was like, what the hell happened here? So in the LA Times, um, so a member of the board of governors who declined to be named said, quote, basically the technology moved faster than she did. When Davis hesitated before announcing first nominee Bob Hoskins, director Marty Pacetta started the reel of film clips. By the time Davis said Hoskins' names, clips for the Color of Money nominee Paul Newman were being shown. Quote, so Marty, not wanting to confuse anybody, just cut Betty's mic, so none of the nominees' names were heard after that. As for remarks in the midst of Academy President Robert Wise's acceptance speech for Newman, the Academy official said, quote, Betty is still Betty. If she wants to say anything, she will. Pacetta felt forced to move the show, then in overtime forward, and again cut off her mic. Quote, everyone was embarrassed, including Chevy and Goldie, who were on stage for the next award. Davis refused to comment Wednesday. It ends with the Monday night live telecast was further lengthened by Best Picture presenter Dustin Hoffman's extemporaneous speech, in which he mentioned his latest film, Ishtar. Quote, when he started, I looked at the teleprompter, the official said, but none of what he said was there. So then Betty, tired of catching strays, she talks to Entertainment Tonight about this. She says she's, quote, tired of taking the blame. And she says, my interview mic was cut out and the film clips were all mixed up. I only had a chance to name one Best Actor nominee. At this point, someone rushed up and said, go to the winner, making it necessary to eliminate 3 of the nominees. Davis was also miffed that producers cut her appearance with Academy President Robert Wise, who accepted Paul Newman's Oscar. Quote, we were done away with completely. It's not my fault they were over time. We'd rehearsed the show the day before.
Vicious. That's like Pacino when he threw everybody under the bus.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
I love this. We say this, we've seen this over and over again. There's nothing new. They're just repeating, history is constantly repeating itself with the Oscars.
Yeah, and it's just like, you're already over time. So just like let her take forever, like reading the nominees, and like really, how much did you actually rehearse this if this went awry immediately?
Not much.
So I feel like I understand why she was by herself, but I feel like she should have had a co-presenter.
Well, I was thinking like Lady Gaga and Liza Minnelli when they did that.
Yeah.
That was nice. They
It's
need
like
to,
I understand why, but like, someone from that era too
yeah,
with her,
they need to do that.
Yeah.
I wrote down a lot of people for alternate nominees here. I don't know if they would have made it in. But I have Paul Hogan for Crocodile Dundee as one. I think he might have just missed.
In like 6, I don't think so. I don't even know. who really would be six here. I mean, I know like Paul got the BAFTA nomination. Um,
The other two possibilities, I thought Jeremy Irons for The Mission
yeah, I
and
have him here too.
Julian Sands for Room with a View.
Yeah, I don't know. I have I have Jeff Goldblum for The Fly, which
I
like will not happen.
would love that. I wrote down a lot of good people potentially. Charlie Sheen for Platoon. Do you think that was ever seriously an option?
No, it was just like always about Tom and
But he's great in it though. That's the thing. Like he's actually really
yeah, but
good.
I think it's also because he's young, you know?
Yeah, that's why I think Jeff Daniels is out for Something Wild. Great performance though. Kyle MacLachlan for Blue Velvet. No way.
Yeah. I have Gary Oldman for Sid and Nancy, which
Feels like now that would have been more of a thing.
yeah. I also have Tom for Nothing Uncommon, but like no, like no
What
one can
about Tom Cruise for Top Gun?
no.
How about Gene Hackman for Hoosiers? Potentially.
No, I mean I think like Dennis happened because he had the double whammy
Right.
with Blue Velvet and also his own narrative
Yes.
that he
No,
still wrote.
yeah, yeah.
So
Uh Jack for Heartburn.
I mean I like that performance, but I don't know if I would nominate it.
I also wrote down Rick Moranis for Little Shop of Horrors.
Of course he did.
Fantastic.
I have Matthew Broderick, but like he like no way. Just like way too young.
Harrison Ford for Mosquito Coast. No.
That's what he was filming when he
Was nominated last year.
missed the previous year's ceremony.
Uh yeah, I don't know. A lot of good people, but like you said, nobody felt realistic, and it's hard to find a sixth.
Yeah, and I guess I feel bad for Bob in a way because he was dominating the season. But then once again, like we're in this era where sentimentality prevails.
Yeah.
So he loses to Paul. So I mean it's like it's great that, you know, we can call Paul Newman an Oscar winner.
Yeah, and it's great. Like I said, it's a good Martin Scorsese. It's a very down the middle Marty movie. Like it was fun
Yeah.
to imagine it. It's fun in this time of Marty. Like I always love the idea of like these like iconoclast directors just making a studio movie. You know what I mean? Like anybody could have made Color Money. It's nothing special at all in terms of. I mean, great script, Richard Price, sure, but I'm like you could imagine any number of other filmmakers doing this movie, right? It doesn't feel like singularly Marty,
No.
but he like adds the flourishes that make it like great. Like great cinematography, great editing, incredible Paul Newman, Tom Cruise off his, head, so good. Great music.
Yeah, like I think, you know, if like if he had won for something previously, would he even be nominated for this? Like I don't think so.
Well, in this year, maybe he would have. We just went through. It's not a great year. Jeff Goldblum going to knock him out? Paul Hogan?
I mean, like I think that changes the narrative, right? Because then it's just like he just made this sequel that no one really asked for.
Yeah. And maybe somebody else
No.
has a better narrative that pops in.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe you're right.
So it's like, what
Uh,
if he actually did win for The Hustler? You know, it's like,
right.
so I mean, you know, you have like Kate Blanchett with like her two Elizabeth nominations,
Right.
performances, but she also didn't win for Elizabeth.
No.
So I don't know.
Best actress Marlee Matlin wins Joyce for Children of a Lesser God. Children of a Lesser God. The other nominees are Jane Fonda for The Morning After, Sissy Spacek for Crimes of the Heart, Kathleen Turner for Peggy Sue Got Married, and Sigourney Weaver for Aliens.
Incredible nomination. She was never gonna win, but
No.
great for the genre.
Yes. I'll just read this, Vincent. I have an article about a couple of things. Marlee Matlin, great speech. Historic win, obviously, for several
She's
reasons.
still the youngest Best Actress winner, 21.
And was the only deaf actor to have won before Troy Kotzer, obviously, for Coda. Vincent Canby, of the 5 nominees listed above, my preference would be for Kathleen Turner and Peggy Sue Got Married. The movie is not great, but you never know it from her rich, funny performance. The winner will be Kathleen Turner. The Academy will feel that it's about time she receives something, as I do. Miss Fonda is excellent in an equally lightweight film, The Morning After, but she's won 2 Oscars, and that for the moment seems enough. The Academy voters admire Sissy Spacek, but she too already has an Oscar for Coal Miner's Daughter, and the voters, having nominated her over Crimes co-stars Diane Keaton and Jessica Lange, will leave well enough alone. However, it's possible that the Academy will take note that Miss Spacek also did credible work last year in Night Mother, a box office flop, and will decide in effect to honor her persistence by honoring the performance in Crimes. A dark horse, Marlee Matlin, the pretty deaf heroine of Children of a Lesser God. It depends on how noble the Academy members are feeling when they fill in their ballots.
Well,
Not great, Bob. What do you got?
so she is the only one here from a Best Picture nominee.
Yes.
So automatically she's
Yes.
ahead. And then also it's just like a great narrative for her. Obviously, it'd be historic. And at this time, she was also dating William Hurt. And he presents the award because he won Best Actor a year before. So there was like this whole thing too with them afterwards. But in terms of the nominees, Jane was the surprise nominee of today. It was just like, where the hell did you come from? And then, this is finally Kathleen has been like so close to noms this entire decade, and she finally gets it for this. And then, like we said, Sigourney, just these types of sci-fi films don't usually get performance nominations, so that was already a win.
Yeah.
So this was like between Marlee and Kathleen, and then like Marlee had the edge in the Best Picture nominee. But in terms of the Crimes of the Heart trio, this is from Inside Oscar. So Spacek clearly outperformed her Crimes of the Heart co-stars in the publicity game. Diane Keaton didn't want to participate in De Laurentiis's promotional tour at all, and Jessica Lange sabotaged her chances with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association by arriving for a press conference and then refusing to budge from her limo when she heard she was expected to pose for individual photos with every member of the association. Spacek happily complied and smiled along with the journalists. She was the only one from the cast nominated by the group for its Golden Globe Award, which she ultimately won.
You got to shake those hands. We learned that from Robert Downey Jr.
She got the Globe. Well, this is the HFPA. The HFPA. Not even
a lot of difference. And in terms of shaking hands, there's no difference. The Academy and HFPA, there's little daylight.
What do you think has happened to like the old HFPA members now?
I don't know.
Remember this year, like so many people thanked the HFPA in their speeches.
They'll be thanking them next year too, or this year, right? Next year, I guess. Yeah. So this is Marlee Matlin, like you said, was dating William Hurt. They had a not a abusive relationship, I would say. She accused him of abuse, certainly.
Yeah, she's talked about this a lot over the years, and Dave Karger had a book earlier this year, 50 Oscar Nights, and she talks about what happened afterwards.
I have it here. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
I mean, I don't care. I have it here too.
I have it from People Magazine, Joyce. So I'll read you the aggregated version of it, I guess.
Oh, I have the actual book, but you can read it. It's the same thing.
Bill congratulated me when I got the award. After I won, I stopped to look at the monitor to see if he had won the Oscar that night, recalls Matlin in the new book. When I found out that he didn't win, my heart sank. I was afraid to see how he was going to react later at home, the fact that I had won and he didn't. When the couple left the show, things went downhill. That's People editorializing. Quote, after the ceremony, Bill held my hand and we found our limo. We got inside, sat down, and he was just staring at me. I could see him thinking. He was very quiet and he said, so you have that little man there next to you. What makes you think you deserve it? I looked at him like, what do you mean? And he said, a lot of people work a really long time, especially the ones you were nominated with, for a lot of years to get what you got with one film. Matlin continues, I didn't even dare argue with him. I thought to myself, is he right? I mean, he was, but was he not happy for me? The two performers had long been separated by an age gap. They began dating when Matlin was 19 and Hurt was 35. But that evening, quote, I was too stunned to talk, says Matlin, but it made me stronger. I just bounced off my back, and it was my time. It was my night, and it was the beginning of my career, so fuck off. And I left him a few months afterward on July 4th.
Yeah.
Just dick move.
She also released a quite like pointed statement after he died. It was
We
just like
lost a
basically honoring, calling him like he was a great actor.
we lost a really great actor, and working with him on the set of Children of a Lesser God will always be something I remember fondly. He taught me a great deal as an actor, and he was one of a kind.
Yeah. You know, it's very Lester was a man. So after nominations,
Yes.
Paramount if issued their official statements because they were both nominated. Hurt. I am truly pleased. I hope I can find the strength to bear it with the grace it deserves. Matlin. I feel great. I'm gonna scream later. Then reported that the couple would not be available for Oscar publicity, so they did not campaign in phase 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been
You,
him.
you would hate it if you were aware of this back then.
Not great. And William Hurt,
But she won. She still
she
won.
won. In her book, I guess, so just to close the loop on that, in her book, she alleged that he sexually assaulted her. And then he released a statement that said, "My own recollection is that we both apologized and both did a great deal to heal our lives. Of course, I did and do apologize for any pain I caused. I know that we have both grown. I wish Marley and her family nothing but good." And then he died in 2002. I mean,
22.
2022. Sorry. Sorry. He was not
Wow,
dead.
just shaved off 20 years of his life.
No, he was. So there you go. Joyce, is this win remembered great? It sounds like at the time, Vincent Canby at least is like, this is not serious, and they're going with like sentimentality over reality. But I don't think it aged like that at all. Is that wrong?
No, I don't think it's aged poorly. I think it's like an average win, I think. I think most people will regard it as like, yeah, that was, a good performance. It was her film debut too. Um, so, but I don't know how many people would call it an all-time win.
Do you think there's a lot like this list of nominees, like we just went through? Like Jane is a surprise, not going to win, having won twice. Sissy Spacek, sure, but like not really. Sigourney Weaver for playing Ripley is awesome, but not really going to win. And so Kathleen Turner for a middling movie, I know they liked her and she was never nominated, but like, would she have ever actually won this? And then Marley Matlin. Is it possible that like the winner was just not like who would have been here that would have beat her that wasn't even nominated? I guess among these nominees, I don't think she should have lost.
I don't think any, so like of like non-nominees, like Julie Andrews had 2 films and she
Yes.
might have just canceled herself out for Duet for One and That's Life. And obviously there's Julie was nominated for a Globe for That's Life,
Yeah.
but for like other people, like, we know they don't like Mia Farrow, so she was, even if she got in, she was not going to win.
So I had her down for Hannah, but I actually think she's not like it's tough because she's not really the lead. It's such an ensemble piece. I don't think it's bad that I think they all could
She's
have
the
been
titular
supporting.
role.
She's a titular role, but it's not like a lead performance.
And then, I mean, I have like Melanie Griffith for Something Wild. Like, I don't think anyone who missed would have beaten her. Like, you have, Jessica and Diane for Crimes of Heart, Chloe Webb for Sid and Nancy, which, like, no, not have happened. So I think, like, the only person who could have beaten her was Kathleen, who was nominated. And I think in, another timeline, maybe she would have, because it would just been like the goodwill from her snubs the entire decade.
Right.
Right. But it didn't pan out that way.
What
So
about like Maggie Smith or Helena Bonham Carter?
no,
Would you
like,
fraud them into supporting?
no, I mean, Maggie is in supporting,
I know, but could she have been frauded into lead?
but even if she were, I don't think she would have won.
And Helena, no, either place.
No, I think like it would have just been, I think like Marley just had too much going for her.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I don't think it's a bad. I actually was surprised to go back and read that Vincent Canby quote. That was pretty scathing because I was just like, I never got the sense that this was like not like that felt like that it was not considered like a good win.
But I don't think it's considered a bad win. Like, it's not binary like that. It's
No,
just
I guess
people
okay,
just don't
okay,
regard it as like, a top 5
okay,
Best
that's fair.
Actress
Do you think
win.
you could have?
And also like like it wasn't like she dominated the season,
No,
so I think that's the thing too. So it's like it's a surprise in that sense,
yeah,
right? So it's like Um, yeah, like she won the Globe, and then I mean I guess like that is like enough, or I mean it is enough, but it's not like there's like a ton of critics awards like there is now.
Right. She won the Globe. Sissy won the Globe. Maggie Smith won the BAFTA, and then Marley wins the Oscar.
Um, so yeah, but you know, I don't think people have issue with this win. So
Okay, good. I was hoping they wouldn't. Other people I wrote down,
I don't
Joyce.
know why you're so like spooked by Vincent Canby
I
not
just was
winning for
surprised to have read it.
performance.
I was just like, I didn't realize that people even thought that at all. I guess I don't know. I don't care about Vincent Canby as far as I could consider, but I'm just like, it just surprised me that even that was like a take at the time. I guess I don't know.
But I don't think it, I mean, that's just his opinion, but it's
Right,
not like it wasn't the consensus because she was
right,
expected to win.
right, right.
So,
Other people I wrote down, no chance for these, but Molly Ringwald for Pretty in Pink. Bette Midler for Ruthless People. Great Bette performance. Kathy Tyson for Mona Lisa. Did you mention her? I don't remember. And Melanie Griffith, you said, would you fraud her in supporting though?
no.
I don't think so either. How about Isabella Rossellini?
I like thought about her, but no.
If it was
I
now,
would like have her, I think I would put her in supporting.
if it was
Like
now,
I
would she
also
have,
have Kathy in supporting, so.
right? If it was now, would she have won New York Film Critics Circle supporting actress Isabella Rossellini, or would she have won, or would they have just gone Gaga for Woody because it's still Woody? I guess now Woody be
Well,
canceled.
like
So,
they will not touch Woody now
right.
at
Even
all.
Hannah and her sisters, they would not touch. It could come out now, and people were like, "Fuck this movie."
The the
Same
entire film is
movie.
canceled. It does
Same
not
movie come
exist.
out right now, and everybody be canceled. But
No.
so maybe Isabella Rossellini would win a New York Film Critics Prize. I feel like she would.
So yeah, they would not touch that now. Come on.
Uh,
Just delete it. The movie does not exist. What was that Timmy movie? A Rainy Day.
A Rainy Day in New York, great
Yeah,
Amazon
that
film.
does not exist. Just gone. Nuked.
Selena Gomez, precursor for Only Murders. Probably one of the reasons she's in Only Murders is because of that movie, because she's doing the same bit. But sure. Supporting actor, Joyce. Michael Caine wins for Hannah and her sisters. And the other nominees are Tom Berenger for Platoon, Willem Dafoe for Platoon, Denholm Elliott for A Room with the View, and Dennis Hopper, as we mentioned before, for Hoosiers. Michael Caine famously not here to accept because he was filming Jaws 4, The Revenge, and a great quote, I have never seen it, but by all accounts, it is terrible. However, I have seen the house that it built, and it is terrific.
Yeah, there's this whole thing like there were like delays or whatever, so then he just like couldn't make it back in time. And it's just so funny to think like again, this was the norm back then where like stars would just not go to the Oscars. They have other commitments and engagements.
Neither
Like
male
this would
acting
never
winner,
happen now.
neither male acting winner was there. Truly, what the fuck?
Like this it would never happen now. Like everyone would like clear their schedule. Like they
Yes.
like once like the Academy announces like the Oscar date and if like their client has like a film that might be in the running, like everyone would just make sure that weekend is clear, just in cases.
I'm not even saying this to be crass. I cannot literally was the last acting winner not there Heath Ledger? I mean, like when like what like
You can't
when
count dead
I
people.
know, but I'm just saying like it's so rare. Oh, Anthony Hopkins, I guess, is the famous one, right? Because it was
But that's also like because they wouldn't let
different.
him zoom in.
And that was a different time, like a different era. But out in a
Like he would have
normal
been there otherwise.
right. It's just crazy that's like it's so rare. And here both the acting winners, the male acting winners are not there. Michael Caine is good in Hannah and Her Sisters.
It's funny because like he's such a great Woody surrogate.
He does a great job being Woody. It's funny to think about like Kenneth Branagh in Celebrity doing Woody and doing like a bad job of it, even though I think Celebrity's okay, but like he definitely gets it. Also funny that Woody's in this movie. I think Woody could have gotten a supporting actor nomination for this as well. I think it's one of his best like this era performances. He's really funny, even though I don't think his stuff is more broadly comic than the Kane stuff. I also think Max von Sydow is fantastic in the movie.
I love the breakup scene between Max and Barbara Hershey.
Maybe one of the best things Woody Allen's ever filmed or written is that scene.
Yeah.
So I think they both could have gotten in somehow, but I guess they just put all the eggs in Michael Caine's basket.
Yeah. Um, and Tom Berenger won the Globe. So, and I think of the Platoon dudes, like I think Tom would have like had the edge just because he was the evil
Yes.
sergeant, and he also had like the bigger speeches,
Yes.
you know.
Uh, it's funny. So Berenger won the Globe, and Ray McNally for The Mission, I think, won BAFTA. Not even nominated here.
Mhm.
And then they loved Hannah and her sisters enough to remember they really liked Michael Caine.
Um, yeah, and then like we said, like Dennis Hopper, I think most people would agree that he was nominated for the wrong film
Yes.
here, and even he expected to be nominated for Blue Velvet and was surprised that it was Hoosiers. So
Let me ask you this. Another unanswerable question, perhaps. If Michael Caine is here and gives a speech, does he win his
I
that
don't think
second
they're thinking
Oscar?
about, they have no idea whether he was there or not for this.
I just feel like the vibe at the time when he won his second Oscar was like, we got to give Michael Caine an Oscar. Like, it felt like there's really no reason for him to have won that second Oscar. It felt like it was like a first Oscar, like to me at least. Like, that's how the vibe was, even though he had already won. And I wonder if he
No,
was here
because
for
I think they
this.
have short memories. I think they are aware of when someone hasn't won, like, like Paul Newman,
Right. But
right?
that's what it felt like when Michael Caine was winning that second one.
No, because I think they're aware that like he's won. And also like his whole thing after he won for Hannah and his sisters was like, I'm gonna win one and lead. Like that's always been his thing. Like he won and won and
I know.
lead, even with The Quiet American. It was like nominating Lee is like, I can win this one, like he was very open about that. So I
Yeah.
think like people were aware, and like I don't think they remember who was at the ceremony
Okay.
or not.
I just think like it
Like
felt
they
like at the
continued to
time.
give Katharine Hepburn Oscars, and she
I
was
know. It
never.
just felt like at the time the vibe was like, hey, Michael Caine's never won an Oscar, even though he obviously just won like less than a decade
No, I think
earlier.
like they just, they like Cider House rules, and I think it's a different time where like he even said it in his speech for that. It's like, if Tom Cruise had won, like your rate would have gone so down as a supporting actor.
Great
Now it's
speech.
like completely normal for A-listers to slum it in
Yeah.
supporting and win.
We went over that one in the 90s one. Great speech. One of the great Oscar speeches, Michael
Yeah,
Caine.
and then it was just like Michael Clark Duncan and
Jude
Haley
Law.
Joel Osment and Jude Law.
Cruz should
So
have won there. I think Cruz should win many Oscars. Not here though I have him written down as an alternate nominee for Color of Money. I think he's great in Color of Money. I actually think he's better though in Rain Man, which we'll do as we wrap this up. And I think he should have gotten nominated for Rain Man. This one with Top Gun in this, you could just see him being a movie star this year, like fully formed.
yeah. I mean, this was the beginning of like peak Tom.
Yeah.
So
You mentioned Hopper for Blue Velvet. Ray Liotta for Something Wild would have been one of the great nominations, and it's a fantastic performance. And I feel like a performance that has been copied by many actors, and like this type of movie I feel like is like kind of influential in how it like does some like poppy conventions with like a darker edge. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like you've seen this kind of performance. I guess I think of basically every Timothy Oliphant like performance and like Go and The Girl Next Door is basically Ray Liotta in Something Wild to me.
he got it at the Globes, and that was it.
So good.
So I feel like now he would have more like critics support
It
too,
feels
like
like
also just
film
because
Twitter
there
fave,
are
right?
so many
Yeah.
critics groups now. But I have like double DDL for A Room with a View and My Beautiful Laundrette, which was like his breakthrough, basically.
Really great.
So
Both could have easily happened, right?
mhm.
And I
I
wrote
have
down
I have River Phoenix for Stand By Me.
great. How about Brian Cox for Manhunter? Wrote that one down too.
I mean, if you want to, sure. Uh,
Wow. I mean, I think he's good in it. I got nobody else. Anybody else?
no.
And then Best Supporting Actress choice. Diane Wiest wins for Hannah and Her Sisters, one of the first of two Oscars for Diane Wiest.
And for Woody Allen movies, both of them.
Yes. The other nominees are Tess Harper for Crimes of the Heart, Piper Laurie for Children of a Lesser God, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio for The Color of Money, and Maggie Smith for A Room with a View.
So this was always Diane's
Felt
dominate.
like just locked it up.
Yeah, and then it's just like that type of character that they love anyway, just like frantic and neurotic.
She's so good in it. It's
No,
it's really a great performance. She
yeah.
is so good. Really fun. Totally great with Woody. Funny that Barbara Hershey is not nominated. I feel like even if she was nominated here, I don't think she would have. I think Diane still would have won.
Yeah, she like Diane should have won, but yeah, Barbara should have been nominated. It would have just been, double noms with a consensus winner of the two.
Yes. Um, Other people I wrote down. This was a harder one to fill out. I have Kelly McGillis for Top Gun,
Of course you do.
and I have Linda Kozlowski for Crocodile Dundee, and Barbara Hershey, of course.
Sure.
Anyone
Um,
else?
I have Kathy Tyson for Mona Lisa.
Okay.
I think she was probably six
Supporting.
here, like either
Yeah,
her or Barbara,
sure.
and Isabella. So, um, yeah, like Maggie won the Globe, but I don't think they uh were gonna give her another one
No.
for this. And I just think like they like Hannah more, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely liked it enough because it also got the screenplay win.
Mhm.
Uh, we mentioned the screenplay, so it was Woody for Hannah and Her Sisters, and Room with a View wins as well for adapted.
Yeah, Woody obviously not there, and he beats double Oliver Stone.
And My Beautiful Andrea and Crocodile Dundee, and then Ruth Pryor Javala is also not there.
Hmm.
So nobody's at this show, and it's still so long.
Well, because they have people except like James Ivory accepted for Ruth.
Sure.
So he gave a speech. So, but I think these are good winners.
Really, I mean, I would say like, so you would say, Annie, would you, if you were ranked, you don't rank things, but if you were, I mean, Woody, is Hannah and Her Sisters like the top, near the top for you for Woody Allen movies?
Um, yeah. I mean, I like Midnight in Paris
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a
too.
while, but I feel like this was, I mean, either way, this is like a right one for him to have won for, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, and Room with You great, and the other nominees there, were Children of Lesser God, Color of Money, Crimes of the Heart, and Stand by Me. So it feels like no brainer.
Um, yeah. So like Platoon, just like Oppenheimer does not win screenplay.
No. It also won editing, Platoon, for Claire Simpson. The other nominees there were Aliens, Hannah and Her Sisters, The Mission, and Top Gun. Feels right.
Yeah.
And it won sound, best sound, not sound effects editing.
Yeah. And then I mean the other wins were like Room Review with art direction, like they all made sense. Like Take My Breath Away, original song.
So the original song nominees that year: Gloria Love for Karate Kid, great song, talked about it. Peter Cetera. Life in a Looking Glass from That's Life. Mean Green Mother from Outer Space from Little Shop, just a classic song. And Somewhere Out There from American Tail. This is another year of bangers, just great songs.
I mean, that was the 80s.
And Take My Breath Away should definitely have won, but I'm like, man, Somewhere Out There is like an all-time animated
I
song.
love Somewhere Out
Oh
There.
my god.
It was never gonna win this though.
No. The best score, this one I feel like, is this another sentimental pick? This is what I was thinking.
I mean, I think everyone would say Ennio Morricone was robbed.
Truly, what the hell, right? Like, no disrespect to Herbie Hancock for Around Midnight, but the other nominees here are just outrageous. Aliens for James Horner for Aliens, Jerry Goldsmith for Hoosiers, Ennio Morricone for The Mission, which is like one of the all-time Ennio Morricone scores, and great. And then Star Trek for Voyage Home for Leonard Rosenman.
Yeah, like everyone would point to like this should have been the one that Ennio won for. And then he would eventually get it for Hateful Eight.
If he didn't win, if he had won this, would he have still won for Hateful Eight?
No. That was again his whole narrative then, because it was like,
So what would have won? What
but
year was that? 20.
that was 2015. So he like I think he would have still been nominated, but there's Bridge of Spies, Carol, great score, Carter Burwell,
So
Super
Carol
Mario,
probably would have won, right?
and then the name check for John Williams, The
For
Force
Force
Awakens.
Awakens. So that is a great score too.
Like that's just the name check for him. Like he was not winning that.
So I think Carter Burwell probably would have won for Carol, even though I didn't really like Carol either. So maybe Bridge of Spies for Thomas Newman. Either one, it would have been a first-time Oscar winner, right?
It's
That's funny
like it's
though.
funny because like Bridge of Spies is the Oscar or the Best Picture nominee, and obviously it won supporting actor, and Carol missed Best Picture, but I think Carol is the better score.
It's definitely more memorable, I feel like.
Yeah.
Other stuff I wrote down, Joyce, is just about the show. Let me see. We haven't talked about. Oh, a couple of things. Costumes was A Room with a View. Jenny Bevins wins for costumes. That was her first Oscar. That was cool. Seeing a young Jenny Bevins. Or Bevan, excuse me.
And that was a very long fashion show overseen by Lauren Bacall.
Yes.
So the other thing that made the show long too, that is not, you can't really tell from the playlist because it's edited out, but when they brought out these legends like Lauren Bacall and Betty Davis, they played clips of their films. Like, we don't need those guys.
We know they are.
Yeah. So you could just bring them out without even saying their names and they'll get a standing O, you know?
Bette Midler came out, was pretty offensive, I would say, but inappropriate for the time. And then mentioned her trashing the song nominees from a few years earlier, which I found was really funny to me. She was giving out original score this time.
And she said, I love this category, scoring.
Vincent Canby at least felt like she was a snub, Joyce, for Best Actress. Not sure that was ever going to happen, though.
I think you're like reading too much into his personal picks.
I guess I am. The other things I wrote down. So the Mission, Chris Menges wins for cinematography. The other nominees there, I just was like fun. Jordan Cronenweth for Peggy Sue Got Married, famed for Blade Runner, and also the father of also a great cinematographer, Jeff Cronenweth. He's worked with Fincher many times.
Yeah.
And this is also Robert Richardson's first nomination.
For Platoon.
For Platoon.
And Jennifer Jones presents this category, and she was so nervous.
Yeah.
I felt bad for her. She was another one who probably like would have benefited from a co-presenter.
Yeah. This one I wrote down, we could do a tight five on this. Steven Spielberg wins the Thalberg Award after getting snubbed viciously for Color Purple the year before.
He was asked about this like backstage, and he was just like, no, I don't think of it that way, like whatever. But I mean, I don't think I think it's true. It's not just because of The Color Purple, it's because of like all the hits that he's made for a decade. And then it's also like he has not won yet. So, but he's clearly this like maverick in the industry, and like someone that the general public responds to. Right. And like I think they were concerned about like, what if he never wins a competitive Oscar?
Yes, this is all true.
So that's why they gave it to him, because he would go on to win 3, as we know. So I don't think it's just the Color Purple thing, which was like the suggestion at the time. I think it's just his cumulative career up until then. And I think it's not the industry's like reception of him, but the Academy's reception of him, which has been kind of prickly, right?
Yes.
So I think it's like that. It's like, this is like a happy medium, right? Maybe. It's like, in case he doesn't win a competitive Oscar, we'll give him this for changing the game.
It made me laugh because the quote, a filmmaker whose body of work has been deemed outstanding. Okay. And then there's no standing ovation at first when he comes out, and then it becomes a standing ovation, and it felt like really forced to me. Yeah,
because like I said, I think like he's still not like a fave within that like boys club of the Academy, right? Like they haven't. I think like now obviously he is, because he's like the elder statesman. But like back then, I think there was still some like resentment towards him, like, you know, like he brings in the money, right? It's like he's so successful, and he's so young too. So I think it's like that. And then I think it's like the board of governors trying to like cover their own bases by giving him this.
I will say Spielberg's speech is great because I think he
It's a
kind
great
of
speech.
he touches on that without actually saying what we just said. First, he says, "I'm resisting like crazy" to Sally Field's line from 2 years ago. Which line would have used, the right one or the wrong one?
Well, since his whole speech is about the importance of reading, I think he would have quoted her correctly.
Okay. Then this is something I thought he did that was really good because he like puts himself in the league of all these other filmmakers who were much at the time more respected, I would say, than him. Thank you very much. Following in the footsteps of some of my heroes, Cecil B. DeMille, George Stevens, Alfred Hitchcock, William Wyler, Ingmar Bergman, and Robert Wise, this award is truly a great honor for me. And I was like, that's really good. That's a great way to be like, hey, guys, think of me like these guys, not like you think of me now, which is a schmuck who makes money.
But his best line is when I mean, it's also applicable now because he says like people are too starry-eyed about technology and
Mm-hmm.
spending too much time with that. And it's time to renew our romance with the word. And he says only a generation of readers will spawn a generation of writers. And he puts himself, I know I was like Chris taking strays here, but like he was like, I'm guilty too of this, like, like he's like, because I'm like focusing so much on like the cinematic, toys and everything, but like good stories start with the written word. So it was a great speech. And a nice award to tide him over until Schindler's List.
Not a very long time later. You had to wait a long time to get this. Uh, that's it. That's all I got for this Oscars, Joyce. Anything else before we go?
No, we already talked about Dustin, like
Woof.
just killing the vibe.
Holy cow.
I mean, like the vibe after Betty and Robert was kooky, but they could have rolled with it.
It
But he
definitely,
just annihilated everything.
I wrote went off the rails. This is terrible. Once Dustin comes out, it just is like threw a match on the whole thing.
And like he could have done something quippy about that, but no, it was just like so self-serious.
My vibe from watching these Oscars and like Dustin Hoffman at this era, it took himself very, very seriously.
Mhm.
Um, so that's it. So we'll be back next week, Joyce, with the 60th annual Oscars.
We have The Last Emperor.
The Last Emperor, a perfect
9 for
score.
9.
9 for 9. 9 times, to quote Ferris Bueller. Nine times. Another strong list of movies that I'm excited to go through. With your host Chevy Chase again, all by himself.
Mhm. And Samuel Goldwyn Jr. is back,
Yeah.
even after this performance here.
I guess they'll
We
chalk
we
it
didn't
up to
mention
like,
how he, in an effort to try to keep the show under 3 hours, he suggested cutting documentary into shorts categories
yes,
from the telecast, and
a precursor to recent times.
and then that was soundly rejected, so that didn't happen. And then his solution was to do these like performance numbers and the fashion show and have montages for these legends. So
Well, we'll see how this next one is, Joyce. I haven't watched this one in a long time, so we'll see. I'm excited to check it out. We'll be back then. I'll talk to you then, Joyce. Bye.